All right, what is up, guys? This is Ryan from Elevate Security, and yeah, I'm really loving the feedback that I've been getting on this channel. We've been growing quite a bit, and as always, like I say, if you have any questions or comments, put it down in the section below, and you guys have definitely been doing that, and it really just helps me figure out what you guys need, because I want to be able to help you guys as much as possible, whether it be with OSCP or getting into security or just overall elevating your skill in the field of security. And recent questions that I've got multiple of these. They were asking about some resources in security and even particularly in SQL injection after the recent videos that I came out with on this channel about that. So I'm going to do exactly that in this video. So when it comes to SQL injection resources, there's three different types of resources, and I'll sort of break those down here. The first resources, that categorization, I guess I would say, is books, of course, the tried and true. And then, normally when it comes to security, books are not the best resource because security just moves so fast. There's new vulnerabilities coming out all the time, and writing a book is a lengthy process. You got to get a publisher and stuff like that. But fortunately, for something like SQL injection, it's been around for so long at this point, and it doesn't really change. SQL injection is SQL injection, right? So because of that, there are some pretty good book resources that I'm going to be recommending in this video. Some that I've used, and then some that I have, but I didn't really use all that much. But I'll be just giving you what I know, and of course, it's not an exhaustive list by any means. But, books are one resource. Another resource that you have is in the form of, not really courses, but, you do have the resource of courses, but the next one that I wanted to mention was vulnerable web apps, which this is the way I learned SQL injection and the way that I would advocate learning, not just SQL injection, but exploitation in general, is just going out there and trying it yourself, right? Getting your hands dirty with it, really hands-on learning. I think that is the best way to learn, especially when it comes to this stuff. And so in my case, it was quite a while ago that I started learning all of this stuff when I was brand new to it. I use something called OWASP WebGoat. It's not the best vulnerable web app there because, for one, you're not actually exploiting the vulnerability. It's a really sandboxed environment where basically it expects you to input a payload in a certain way, and then it's just telling you if that was right or wrong. You're not actually exploiting it. So I didn't really know anything about that at the time. So if I could go back, I would have used, now there's a lot more options out there on the market, and I'll be going over what those are. But that's the category I'd really recommend, is this stuff. And the cool thing about the vulnerable web apps is not only are you able to exploit the vulnerabilities and get hands-on with it, but it'll also give you hints, and it will give you a nice explanation, really walk you through, really step you through, what you need to do, what the methodology is, and why things are done a certain way. And so it's a great way to sort of combine the best of both worlds of books, because it gives you that book-like explanation, and at the same time, the elements of CTFs, where you're sort of torn loose with no guidance. It gives you the guidance. It's the sort of nice bridge between books and CTFs, I found. And then, of course, the third category will be like courses, CTFs, stuff like that. Along those lines, OSCP, if you're going for that, I will say that their lab guide walks you through how to do SQL injection. It gives you a nice basic rundown of that, similar to what you would find in a book. And CTFs, if you can find some write-ups on different boxes, that could be a good way to get some hands-on practice when it comes to SQL injection as well. So yeah, those are the overall categories. Now let's sort of dive in and talk more in detail about certain resources. So the first thing that I have here is from a book called the Hacker Playbook, Practical Guide to Penetration Testing. It's this book right here. It's one that I have. And one little tip that I found when it comes to technical books, when it comes to hacking books and stuff like that, I actually prefer to get the Kindle version. And the reason for that is I can control F and I can search for certain terms. And that's just my preferred way. When I read other stuff, a lot of times I like to have the physical book, but when it comes to like technical content, I prefer to have that search functionality, quickly find things, because a lot of times I'm not necessarily just reading them cover to cover. I'm using them more as a reference. So that's why I like to have like Kindle versions of those. But yeah, like I said, this book came out in, I would say somewhere in one of these links. It came out in 2014. But like I said, SQL injections is something that has been around for so long, and it hasn't changed, and it never will change. It is what it is. That's fine that the book is this old. It gives you some nice introductions to it, and even some hands-on stuff that you can play with and follow along in the book, which is nice. Personally, this isn't how I learned SQL injection, and I don't even think I went over the SQL injection section in the book, but I did skim it before this video, and it looked to be a pretty good introduction, I would say. Now, the next one, let me go ahead and full screen myself for this so you can see it a little bit better. Next one is a book that I actually do have in the physical. I think I got this one at DEF CON, I believe. Is Real World Bug Hunting by Peter, Jaworski. And this one came out really recently. In fact, I believe this came out in 2018, 2019, something like that. Let me see what it says here. 2019, yeah. So this is a really recent book. And not only for SQL injection, but for bug hunting in general. If you're not familiar, by bug hunting, I'm talking about stuff like finding vulnerabilities in real-world applications and submitting your findings through something like HackerOne or BugCrowd. Really popular way, great way to make money through your security skills as well. Maybe something to do on the side, or there's some people that do this full time that are really good, have some really good tooling and skills, things they built out over time. In fact, this is an area of security that I plan on expanding more into in the future, is writing my own automation and hunting for real-world bugs. So if you're into that kind of content, let me know down in the comments section below, and maybe look forward to some content like that from this channel down the line. But of course, OSCP is the focus before that. But anyways, with this book, they cover... What's really cool is they cover all kinds of different web app. It's all web app focused. Well, mostly, not entirely, but mostly. And what they'll do is they'll have they'll introduce a vulnerability like here, cross-site scripting. And then the entire chapter, they first start off by explaining what it is, and then they show real-world examples of real findings from say HackerOne and stuff like that, right? They say okay, this guy got paid $500 for finding an XSS vulnerability in Shopify. Here's exactly how he did it. And so it's really cool to see really in-depth information on how people are actually making hundreds. This one, Yahoo Mail stored cross-site scripting, $10,000 bounty he got paid. So, and this is exactly how he found it step by step. So, man, this is a really valuable resource in general, not just for SQL map, but onto the SQL injection, sorry. But yeah, here they have SQL injection here, and similar to the other chapters, they follow that same format. They first explain to you really cleanly what it is and how to find it, and then they show you a few real-world examples of people that found SQL injection in real-world applications and what they got paid for it. And so it's a great way to learn, I would definitely say. And I did read a lot of this book, so I can say that this would be a good resource. So now on to the vulnerable web apps. And the thing about these vulnerable web apps is they're not just for SQL injection. They're pretty much for all kinds of different web app vulnerabilities, from XSS to insecure deserialization, whatever you can think of, cross-site request forgery, all this stuff. They allow you to practice in all these different areas. So they're really good just in general for increasing your pen testing skills. Now, when I'm going to be full disclaimer here, full transparency here. I haven't used one of these in a long time. When I did, I used OWASP WebGoat. I wouldn't really recommend that one anymore, like I was saying, just because you're not actually exploiting the vulnerabilities, and there's probably a lot better, newer options. That's why I wanted to find a lot more up-to-date article so that I can be up-to-date in my information here. So the first one they list is this BWAP, and this one I've heard before. I'm pretty sure that it seems pretty recent, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that one probably pretty solid. I haven't heard anything bad about it. This one I'm not familiar with. Maybe this is a newer one, the CTF Learn here. And then there's a iOS one, so that's kind of interesting. Maybe check that out in the future. This one is a tried and true classic one, damn vulnerable web app. That's been around for a long time. I'm not really sure about Defend the Web or this Google one here. You got hack.me, Hack the Box, of course. This one's a little bit more high level, a bit more advanced, I will say. But, we do a lot of content on this channel with Hack the Box. So, yeah, maybe something, if you feel up to it, definitely check it out. And either way, I'm going to be making a lot more content where I'm doing Hack the Box stuff, especially as I gear up for OSCP here in the next few months, right? Hack This Site and Hellbound Hackers. These are two websites that I used back in college when I was really just dipping my toes in this stuff. I didn't even know they were still around, to be honest. I mean, maybe you can check this out if you want, but yeah, just be advised, it's pretty old. Over the Wire. This is really cool. Not even just for... I know they have one that is like a vulnerable web app one. There's a bunch of these different boxes you might be able to kind of see here in the screenshot, like Bandit and Narnia and all this stuff. Some of them, they're all for different purposes. I believe Narnia is exploitation and buffer overflows and all that stuff, whereas Bandit is entirely Linux based. So it's really cool. I'd like to do more of these in the future. Cool resource. Not really just for web app stuff. Mutiliday. This was one that I used back in the day, along with the OWASP WebGoat, which isn't in this list. But yeah, this was a pretty good resource, I would say. It looks really old, and it is pretty old, but it's a good one. I never really heard of these ones here, but one last thing I will add to the list is this Juice Shop made by OWASP as well. I've had some coworkers that have done this. I haven't done this one personally, but made by OWASP, so it is credible for sure. And it is, if I'm not mistaken, based off of Node.js. So, and I believe it came out in, it is JavaScript based, came out in the last few years. So this one would probably be a nice, really modern resource, really recent thing. So maybe that's one you want to check out. Definitely will have SQL injection in it. And this is the one I use, the OWASP WebGoat. I just included this here for completeness. Wouldn't really recommend this one, but yeah, it's still around apparently. If you want to check it out, that is an option. So then the third category that I was talking about, touched on this in the beginning, is courses, certifications, stuff like that. And of course, OSCP comes to mind. I'm sure pretty much everyone here is familiar with the OSCP. Like I was mentioning earlier, their lab guide has, sort of steps you through SQL injection. As well, you'll get experience doing it in the actual lab boxes, although you won't have guidance there. And possibly on the exam, depending on what your particular boxes are that you get in the rotation when it comes time to take the exam. But another one would be eLearn Security. They have a bunch of different certifications that are all pretty hands-on, similar to OSCP. But they have one called EJPT. This is the one that most people start with when they want to get eLearn certifications. It's their Junior Penetration Tester certification. And down here they say they do basic vulnerability assessment of web applications. So I haven't taken this myself, but I'm sure there's no doubt in my mind that they probably cover SQL injection in this program here, in this course. I've had some coworkers that have taken these certs, gotten this one in particular, and I heard it was a pretty good one, pretty hands-on one, a newer one. Although now that OSCP has been updated, that might be a question of debate, a topic of debate, now that it's been modernized. But yeah, this is another option here. Just want to make you guys aware of that. And so, yeah, this video probably got a little long here, but I hope this was of value to you. Definitely trying to provide as much value to you guys as I can, like I said. And yeah, just keep pumping those comments down in the section below. It really helps me figure out how I can best help you. And so, yeah, be sure to hit subscribe if you've been enjoying the content thus far, like, bell notification, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video.